Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Erin Nickerson and I'm the Startup Manager at Ignite. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for the Marketing Madness webinar with Sean Williams. A few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat below and I'll be moderating the chat throughout this session. This webinar is being recorded and it will be shared afterwards within our network. And also a short survey will be sent out to you afterwards if you could take the time to answer a few questions. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce you to Sean Williams, our host for today's session.
Thanks, Erin, and thanks for everybody attending. Hopefully I don't mess up too much and you give me a bad rating on the evaluation, but my hope today is to offer up the adults and the babies in the audience some insight into kind of the marketing madness that we're all, not all, I wouldn't say all of us, but a lot of us are now kind of looking at or evolving or working on, and offer up some insights around kind of things to do and things to maybe not do, the to-dos and the to-don'ts of the marketing madness today. So also, and I'm just going to kind of introduce myself as well, because one of the things that I'm excited to kind of celebrate, and hopefully all of you have seen recently, is my company Dashboard Marketing and myself are kind of the official marketer in residence for Ignite. So this was a great new partnership that we established late last year, and so this is kind of the first official connection I'm having with a lot of the folks with Ignite. And ultimately, I'm kind of myself, and I have a business partner that can also help offer counsel and advice to those that are connected to Ignite. And we cover kind of a variety of areas. So as you might have seen in the bio and other reference, I co-own a boutique marketing shop called Dashboard Marketing. We officially celebrated our 15th year in business yesterday. So for being an entrepreneur, for not expecting to be an entrepreneur, I was very excited to see that I've been in business for 15 years, because it definitely wasn't in the plan. And my business partner is my life partner, my wife. So we have as you can see on the right-hand side, we have a real mix of clients that we've worked with over the years, primarily in Canada, a bit of a skew, of course, to Atlantic Canada, because I'm based in Halifax. But we work with clients all across the country, and as well as in the US, and had some experience overseas, England, Middle East, even Australia. And we cover kind of quite a broad range of offerings in the sense of branding, business planning, marketing, and work in a real mix of sectors. But our model is very different. We don't have staff. We tap into freelancers and independents. So it's very much around a collaborative, crowdsourced type of model. And so we have a great list of vetted partners we work with. And so it's kind of fun to be able to support and foster entrepreneurship with a lot of the companies and the people we work with. And so actually Ingrid, who's doing a talk with you guys from WordCraft in a couple of weeks, I'm working with her on one of our clients. So folks like her and others are out there. So there's a raft of and a wide selection of folks that can kind of help our clients. And the model itself right now is quite well accepted, where 15 years ago it was quite new and people really didn't get that idea of no employees and you're bringing people to the table, but they don't work for you, that kind of situation. So we've definitely got a bit of experience behind us. I've got that kind of gray hair to show for it. With over 25 years of experience. I've worked in the advertising side of things at agencies, both in Halifax and Toronto, and also with companies like, as you can see on the right, Nikon and Molson were some companies I worked with in their marketing side of things. And also work with some big brands with my time in Toronto, CIBC, Kraft, to name a couple. We definitely are committed to the startup and entrepreneurial space. As I said, not expecting to be an entrepreneur, I kind of felt like this was the way we could give back. So we've got similar alignments that we have with Ignite, but with Startup Zone and PEI, Volta here in Halifax, as well as the Amira Idea Hub. I've been on the loans review committee with Seed for 5+ years. So it's been really fun to see the different businesses coming through that organization. DMZ is my alma mater. I went to Ryerson, so to see what they were doing and how they built that into quite a startup space is quite exciting. And in Actis, I've been involved in some of the contests and judging that have gone along. So it's definitely a space we love to support and want to invest our time and energy into. So enough about me. Let's get into kind of the topic of today. Let me add Todd H. So why this topic? I always kind of love to throw this quote at people because marketing is like sex. Everyone thinks they're good at it. That's definitely a funny conversation to have with certain people that think they're good at marketing, but really don't know it, and it really isn't what they do. You're all entrepreneurs. You're all focused on a variety of things within your business. Marketing is one of them, but a lot of times marketing is on a very small corner of the desk. So it's really making sure that, where you can, you bring in people like myself to kind of help along, and that you kind of ask for help, which is something I'll touch on as we go through here. It's always also funny to have a conversation around what do you think is marketing? I love the show, Don Draper, Mad Men, old school. And I can appreciate this because I worked for Leo Burnett, which was also one of those original, Fifth Avenue ad agencies. If you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. But as we know in this day and age, that is definitely not how it's done. Because a lot of people are having conversations you are not even involved in or know about. So let's get into kind of today's challenges. And we've all lived through a pretty interesting time over the last couple of years, and things have dramatically changed in a lot of ways. So here's just a list of things that through our experience, we're kind of really seeing and wanted to put to you guys. First is people have changed. We as consumers have all changed our behavior and ways we engage with companies, as well as our expectations, what we want from them, what we don't like from them, the changes between different companies. So it's really important to recognize that things aren't the same as they used to be and never will be. So that change has happened. So how do we understand it? How do we evolve? How do we grow and learn from it? One of the big things that I've talked to a lot of clients about and we're working on is the customer experience. So the CX is customer experience, and getting that right, because because people have changed and because of their buying behavior, they might have used to shop with you strictly online, or sorry, at store, and now they're buying only online. Or they're now kind of through this, there's a lot of talk about the resurgence of retail. Now they want to get back to buying in store when they've always been buying online, or that hybrid model. So it's quite a challenge. And this is, I'm talking more of that B2C possible, engagement. It goes same thing for the B2B side. So for those of you in that space that are offering, your services or products to other businesses, that dynamic has changed. A study recently done is, before the pandemic, you needed to kind of engage people, 5 different touch points as a B2B business. Now it's 10 plus, and that can be in person, online, phone call, email, whatever. So there's quite a lot of change happening in that customer experience. Personalization. Some of you maybe have heard about this topic, and making sure that you're personalizing any engagement. It's great to talk about it, but it's got to be personal. It's when you talk about personalization, it truly does need to be personal. So understanding that customer and what they're expecting and what they want is important. Something that some of you might have heard about. There's been a lot of talk recently about first-party data, and first-party data is the data you own on your customers. So that email list, that just understanding and knowledge and that data around your actual customers is so important to look at now. And I'll touch on this a little bit more, because the challenges now with privacy, upgrades to operating systems, say with Apple, there's a lot of challenges in utilizing second or third party data. And yes, third party data like research studies about the market you're in is great, but nothing beats having that one-to-one personal connection with those you do business with. So it's all about first party data. The never-ending content and versus distribution dynamic. And when I talk about content, it could be case studies, blog articles, videos you do. There's a lot of content. Some of you are producing photographs of the product. But the big question is distribution. It's great to create all that content, but now how do you get it out there? And then when you're looking at distribution, or what kind of content can you put out there? Can you repurpose that content? So there's always, this is such a key thing for a lot of clients we talk to around this dynamic of content versus distribution. Mobile first. Hopefully you've all heard this phrase. Everything we do going forward is mobile first. We work with a coffee brand right now, and one of the companies they really look up to is based out of Quebec, and they've done quite a bit in shifting the coffee business and selling beans. And it was interesting reading an article about that brand, and their retail marketing strategy is mobile first. So it's interesting to have them as a retailer, but also selling online, but thinking mobile first in whatever way they engage their customers. So it was interesting to see how businesses are evolving that way. Number 7, standing for something matters. It's amazing to see how people react, be it positively or negatively, to companies that are supporting certain things. And that could be just local charities, or that could be standing for something very dramatic. You look at a lot of the businesses and what's happening with Russia and the Ukraine situation. There are businesses that have stopped doing business in Russia because of this. IKEA, McDonald's, like major brands. That means something to people. And it, again, you don't have, it may not be that level, but it's other pieces that come into your brand, and what do you stand for in the sense of corporate social responsibility. Social and e-commerce is almost now a cost of entry. So, you might have a business, you think, oh, I never need to be an e-com or sell stuff on social. There most likely is something that makes sense to be selling through a digital means of engagement. Even if it's renewal of this or a refresh of that or whatever it might be. So it's something to always and continually look at as your business evolves. Paid advertising, it's interesting. One of my original jobs was working for a media buying shop in Toronto, and we were GRPs and outdoor billboards and buying more traditional media. There was always a question about effectiveness, and then moved to digital. Well, we can track it and we can see the results and we can see all of that. That's great, and we still do that. The challenge is it's getting harder. So with this upgrade with the operating system with Apple products and the privacy piece that's coming into play, utilizing Facebook lookalike profiles is not as easy as it used to be. And using certain digital channels, there is that restrictive element of privacy. So it's now a big thing to look at for any means of engagement that you pay for, to see that effectiveness and how are you driving sales or awareness or whatever the KPI you might be tracking. Digital definitely means more than it used to. It's interesting when we do site audits for clients. One of the pieces we now very much look at is accessibility, but more so in the sense of audio. And the voice search that a lot of people are now doing with Alexa and Google and so on. How is your site optimized for that audio piece of it? And those that are hard of hearing, how does your site engage with them that way? Even to the site side of it, in distinguishing kind of lights and darks. The chatbots are a huge way of engaging customers now, and it's amazing to see even just last 2 years how many clients I work with that have brought on the chat piece. TV streaming platforms. We got rid of regular TV. We're all about Netflix and Disney Plus, and we've got the old school now antenna plugged into our TV to tap into CBC and CTV locally. So this digital streaming of content. What are you doing to engage people that way? Word of mouth. Best marketing there is. It's on warp speed now. It is, we've got more choices. We've got a lot of people doing business with us, a lot of people engaging with us in a good and bad and ugly way. There's more change happening. So, word of mouth is definitely an interesting thing that brands need to recognize going forward. And then lastly, we wouldn't be dashboard marketing if we wouldn't talk about tracking, analyzing, and adjusting what you're doing. And I'll touch on this around setting those KPIs and baseline expectations of, be it site traffic, engagement through social, sales, whatever those kind of key performance indicators are, is making sure you're tracking things, you're analyzing them, and you're making change based on the insights. So I'm going to flip over to a video just to, it's fun. And this is actually a good setup for kind of Ingrid's talk in a couple weeks, because Hootsuite is a great source of social media information insights. It's a great platform to use as well with social media management. So I'll just flip this on just because they offer up some good insights around trends for social media specifically this year, and kind of social is a key part of any marketing strategy going forward. So.
Welcome to Hootsuite's social trends for 2022.
Digital communities are only becoming more central to consumers' lives and identities, and creators are the key to unlocking them. Brands that partner wisely with creators are connecting with new audiences, earning their trust and gaining cultural capital.
Consumers are holding brands to a higher standard when it comes to creativity and social advertising, but rewarding those that get it right. As marketers plan to spend more on social ads in 2022, they'll have to work harder to create ads that mirror and enrich the distinct experience each social network has to offer.
Marketers are becoming more confident in measuring the ROI of their efforts on social. Now, the high performers are buffing up employee advocacy programs, mastering social listening to gather consumer insights, and looking to deliver the kind of impact they've seen social have on their marketing elsewhere in their organizations.
The era of social commerce is in full swing, and the opportunity is only getting bigger. Small businesses in 2022 will work to extend the experience customers have with their brands across social storefronts, while global enterprises test the limits of the online shopping experience.
Amid halting global supply chains and staffing shortages, many businesses can expect an influx of not so happy customers in 2022. Meanwhile, demand for customer service over social has been surging. Social media managers now find themselves in an ideal position to play the hero and steer their organizations through the upheaval.
So it's definitely worth a download if you check out Hootsuite. That they've got some videos that are specific in the sense of touching on each of those trends. Great resource, great platform to use. Offers up some great insight if you're actually using it as well. But social is a key part for any strategy going forward these days, and it's interesting to see some of the insights that they talk to in the sense of social commerce, managing customers' expectations and so on. So let's let the madness begin. If you've dug into marketing at all, you hear a lot about the 4 Ps of marketing, and I always kind of love to kind of have a little fun with what I think the 4 Ps are. We can all kind of relate to that sometimes when we're trying to get our customers or engaging with people that we want to sell something to. So yeah, please. But I've used that kind of to look at the kind of the theme of today's talk a little bit, in the sense of our outlook on today's 4 Ps of marketing. And for us, the biggest one that we will always.
Sean,
Yeah, sorry.
your mic kind of seems kind of like not muffled, but it's kind of echoey. I'm not sure what happened there, but it was right after you played the video and then you started talking and it was kind of crackling.
Okay. Does that help at all?
I think so. Just if you keep going, then I'll let you know if anything changes.
Okay. Yeah, I can pop on the headphones if that helps. So
This seems like it's okay, so thanks.
okay, great. Yeah, so the first P of marketing from our perspective is people. We talk to our clients all the time about what do your customers say. And as you guys have gone through certain programs, that customer discovery piece is always so important. And so it's always important to think about the people side, and I'll touch on this a bit around, it's all about people marketing into people and that human connection. So it's always important to we always see that as a really important kind of P of marketing. The next one is around planning. Our approach is very much strategy first, and putting a strategy in place before doing anything else. So it's important to kind of map that out, be it your product roadmap, be it your marketing strategy, be it whatever you're looking to kind of progress forward with. And that kind of feeds into the third P of marketing, is progress. What is that plan going forward? What do you see changing? Are you prepared for the change? And making sure it's a positive movement kind of forward. And then lastly, and this is something that I find really needs to resonate more with Atlantic Canadian-based companies, is pride. We in Atlantic Canada don't do enough to really celebrate who we are and what we're doing. And I love, if I'm traveling and I, land back in Toronto, which is where I'm from, and talk to some friends about the companies I'm consulting with and what's happening in this part of the world, they're blown away by some of the things that I tell them. And I think, we need to just be more proud about what we're doing. And this is not being arrogant, cocky, obnoxious. It's just being, confident and supportive of the brand that we are. So digging into people a bit here. And I read a great article recently of a person we know personally as well as professionally around meaningful conversations. She's in market research, and the article was around kind of having possibly lost that ability or that focus around having good, meaningful conversations with our customers and with people we might want to bring on as customers. And so the big do here is to have those meaningful conversations with your audience. It's something that should always happen. It should never stop. You should be talking to your current customers, potential customers, partners, all of those different pieces that are, say, part of your lean canvas. If you look at that, that is the discovery there, and those conversations really need to feed into what are we going to do going forward. And a lot of the decision making should come from the customers that you're doing business with. So start, if you haven't already, or continue to have those conversations with customers. This is a screen grab from a video clip some of you might have seen a few years back, where it was such it went viral, of course. It's just such a fun little video clip of these two little kids. They haven't seen each other for ages, and they just ran and were so excited to hug each other. And I think that's going to be the piece that's going to come into play this year as we kind of come out of this pandemic, is people wanting to connect with each other even more intimately and personally. So with this one, don't forget, it's still people connecting with people. Whatever business you're in, whatever kind of channels you're operating in, and partners you're working with, and sectors you're involved with, it's still about people connecting with people. So that human connection, that personal piece is still so important. And I think will continue to be more important, because what I'm finding in certain sectors with certain clients we're dealing with, trade shows and in-person meetings are like, people are desperate for them now. So those companies that are offering that up before anybody else might just get the business before anybody else. So it's interesting to see that there is an opportunity to really kind of, celebrate and really focus on that people connecting with people at this point. This feeds into kind of the next point around, do invest in a human brand. So whatever business you're in, whatever company you're running, revisit your brand and say, okay, how can I be more human in the sense and personal? And because you see the quote from Seth Godin, who's a great thought leader in the marketing space. I've heard him speak. He's just such a character. I've read his books, but one of the best quotes I've ever pulled from him is a statement around, people do not buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. And it doesn't matter what business you're in, what you're selling, that's relevant. Because that human personal connection means so much and should always be top of mind when you're looking at how you're evolving that business. I touched on this in kind of the things to consider, and a big don't skip over your first party data. If you have an email list of current customers or the opportunity, say through Castle, to talk to them, I can't emphasize how important and how much of an opportunity that is, because as you can see on the screen, first party data is that data collected directly by you, the company. So whoever that might be it, customers that have inquired, haven't bought, or those that have bought but haven't reordered, it's so important to utilize and do more with that information, that data. Because second and third party, while it's beneficial for certain situations, you can't forget about that first party data. This is the example on the right is a client we work with here in Halifax. something's just to stop here for the folks at Ignite. A thing came up saying the meeting's supposed to end in about 10 minutes.
I see that. Let me just check on that. Just continue and I'll just keep checking.
Okay, if not, I'll have to talk really quickly. The big reco here is to tap into others to celebrate and sell your brand. And Scotia Fuels, they're so hopefully I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible so we don't get knocked off again. But already kind of covered off the don't try to do it all yourself. This is a theme that I've kind of touched on already a little bit around do establish, track, and react to KPIs. So with whatever business planning you're doing, make sure you've got those key performance indicators in place. And then while I say that, the other thing is don't just collect the information to kind of work against those KPIs. It's important to kind of analyze and question it, because marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed. So it's great to get all that information. What do you do with it, and how is it going to improve and affect the business? The last piece here is do be prepared. We've lived through a very unusual situation for the last couple of years, so let's make sure that we're prepared in some way. This is a great example of some augmented reality that's coming into place with buying products that you'd think, okay, I would normally go into a retail store and try on shoes. Well, virtually you can try them on through different technology. The last piece, and it's too bad we did lose folks because I'd say this is one of the most important components, is on the pride side. So ensuring that you do celebrate your strengths and highlight why you're different. Again, back to that category perspective is, we did this for a client where we mapped out everybody else in the marketplace, which was quite busy, and looked at kind of how they're positioning each other. And there definitely were openings and areas of opportunity that really aligned with their kind of vision and view for their business. The other piece is knowing that not everyone is your customer. You should not try to be everything to everybody. And again, Seth Godin's quote here of everyone is not your customer is very true. So really respecting that and recognizing that, it's okay that certain people are not your customers. A lot of companies don't feel comfortable saying that, but to be effective in your business and the focus you have in that business, you need to be focused and doing business with those that are your customers. Do keep it simple, do keep it honest, and do keep it real. Being an authentic brand is something we really do talk to a lot of our clients about. And so it's really important to keep things simple, honest, and real as you go forward. Don't stand still or get stuck. That's kind of back to the progress piece. Same old thinking gets you same old results. So making sure that you're always looking ahead and always thinking about new ideas, new opportunities. And the way to do that is know what the category is doing, know what your customers want, and know who you are yourself as a brand. And then, of course, I'm going to say this to kind of wrap things up is do ask for help from experts. And again, it's too bad, the rest of the team aren't here. That's why, I and Dashboard are here to help and be part of the Ignite team is to help where we can in any business dynamic that you're dealing with. And there's also others out there to help, be it from a legal standpoint, from supply chain, from product development. There's no shortage of experts that you can get advice from. So to wrap up, the key thing around people is to talk to them. Look at the environment from a human perspective, because it is people talking to people, and engaging advocates. Current customers would be a big one there, but other advocates are out there. Influencers, for instance, a lot of companies are utilizing influencers. You are paying them, so there definitely needs to be a good alignment, but they could do a lot for you. Planning strategy first is our approach. We're very much focused on retention as well as acquisition, and the success model that I kind of took you through really supports that effective way of engaging current customers. When we look at progress, doing more in digital is definitely a big recommendation. Analyze the data that you have and adjust the business and the forward approach that you might be taking based on that data, and just be prepared for anything. And then on the pride side is making sure you define how you're different, being authentic, like a true authentic brand, and look for help where you can. So my final word is never stop marketing, because if you're out of market, you're out of mind, out of sight. There really is an opportunity for every business to be marketing in some way or another all the time. So again, small group, but questions, discussion, would love to kind of touch on anything that might have been thrown up in the chat, or any other questions that have come up through the discussion.
Thank you so much, Sean, and apologies again. I'm definitely going to check into the technology to see what happened there, and make sure it doesn't happen for our next webinars. But yeah, please, anyone, if you do have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and say them, or put them in the chat.
I have a couple questions actually I wrote down while you were talking. To touch on the first one, because I am currently marketing B2B rather than B2C, and I am used to B2C, so this is kind of a new area for me. So what are like some of the main differences for marketing, you would say, from the two?
Well, what's interesting is in the way things have evolved, there aren't as many differences as there used to be. Again, it's back to that first area of people. It's really understanding those customers. So the model and approach and thinking around marketing and selling to somebody, be it through a consumer type of dynamic, or a direct type of dynamic, or a business type of dynamic, the strategy and the thinking, the approach might be the same, but you just have to customize it and modify it based on the insights you have from those you're trying to do business with. I've worked with a lot of B2B brands, and it was interesting, that article I mentioned earlier, and I think McKinsey put it out about kind of the evolution of B2B marketing specifically. And they just talked about the higher level of touch points you now have to look at and utilize, versus 2-3 years ago, where I think I said 5 touch points then, now it's like 10 plus. And so a lot of it comes down to kind of the channel and the ways you need to engage, but it goes back to just understanding those buyers in the same way you would from a consumer side of things.
All right.
Because the more you know about them, the better you're going to be able to engage them through the right channels, right time, right message, and so on. Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of where it's to tap into that market. Like a lot of social media, you can go through like your friends, especially like for B2C, and you're trying to, like, where I'm kind of trying to learn is to get into a market that I wasn't a part of a network before. Sure. If that makes any sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was struggling.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, again, it really does go back to kind of doing a bit of a deeper dive and understanding those customers you're trying to market and sell to. Because as we know with social, okay, well, if it's a consumer side type of product, Instagram might be that best channel to engage them with, but with a business side, LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And so how do you do that? Then when you talk about influencer strategies, well, there's definitely something to be said for both, right? We know a lot of examples of influencers on the consumer side. Same goes for the B2B side, because you can get thought leaders or experts in that sector, or people that really know that product well, and engage them to talk about your product and kind of put it out there. Even events and trade shows and conferences are kind of coming back into that B2B environment. It's just being very strategic and smart around, okay, who are you trying to engage? You don't just do the booth, you book a hospitality suite, you just do it differently. But like any good marketing, it does go back to your understanding of the audience, and asking them those questions. Where could I best engage you and find you and kind of just do more with you?
Yeah, so where I probably need to dive in is like more of the research and then the strategy.
Yeah, definitely.
The next one was, I am an online virtual business, and you had mentioned about connecting with like the people, like as far as storytelling and stuff like that. How would you recommend for someone that's virtual to accomplish that?
Well, you think about market research, and even though it's a virtual business, you can still engage and source insight from qualitative and quantitative research. So be it online surveys with an incentive, offering up like virtual focus groups or online panels. There's definitely ways to kind of engage with them. Recently I worked with an online consumer side business, and we were trying to do more and more research, and we just used kind of the traditional online survey with a big incentive, and we got good participation. We got kept it quite short, but got some good insight. So you can still engage them and get insight from them. Incentives are important, and also keeping things short and sweet, not offering them up a 20-question survey. It might be a 5-question survey that's very specific, and maybe doing that every quarter. So there's just different ways to kind of get that information through a virtual digital environment.
Awesome. Thank you. So that gives me a place to start.
Right.
Awesome. Anyone else have any questions?
Well, the good thing is I'll circulate the survey or the presentation.
Yes.
And I mentioned to Aaron earlier that I plan to do some office hours with folks both in Yarmouth and New Glasgow. So over the next couple of months. But I see, Sarah, you were unmuting yourself, so you might have a question there.
Hi, it's not a question, it's just more of a comment, just to emphasize how planning is important, one of your P's. I'm not a business, I'm actually a marketing professional, but I have worked with different organizations from just tiny little ones to big corporations. And I can see how fail is almost certain if you don't plan ahead. Yeah. And I just wanted to emphasize that, because from your presentation, this is the thing that I just stick with me the most, especially with small businesses or startups just starting to plan their marketing strategy. It's not a waste of time. It's just as much as you can take time to plan ahead. I think it's proportional to the success of your marketing strategy. It's just a comment, not a question.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's always so tough.
I'm sorry about that.
It's always tough. Companies have a hard time, stopping in a certain way and planning, but it's important for sure.
Great, thank you for that comment. Yeah, so if we don't have any more questions, Sean is going to send me the PowerPoint slides, and then I will distribute them to all the participants that were registered, along with the recording, and also Sean and myself's contact information. If you guys have any other questions and you want to reach out, please do. But thank you so much to everyone here, and thank you, Sean, for the great session this afternoon.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.